Constructs models highways and familiar constructs. A construct defines a set of tightly interlinked understandings. For example, if you've tried your hand at learning to create programs with C++, you probably have a C++ construct. This construct defines all your knowledge about C++ and is the sum total of all the interconnected ideas about C++. Think of a construct as being like a city in your mind. Within a city, you have 1,000 of buildings you can travel between. Some are big and important and are linked by roads to hundreds of other buildings in your city. Others are less important and only have a few dirt paths leading to them. In the landscape of your knowledge, your mind is full of these cities. Your basic math and language skills are probably large and efficient cities. You have no problem navigating from 3 plus 4 minus 10 to 10 times 3 plus 7. These questions are easy because your constructs for basic math are highly developed. Understanding is the result of a highly developed construct. Are there certain subjects that you just get? These subjects are easy for you to understand and seem obvious. Chances are this is because those subjects lie within highly developed constructs. They are like cities where the roads are clean and free of traffic congestions. The buildings are maintained and rarely are entire pathways blocked off. In contrast, are there any certain subjects that you have difficulty understanding? These would be like newly constructed or poorly designed cities. The roads don't lead to many places. It is easy to get lost, and there are many buildings which need to exist, but either haven't been built yet or have been lost in the maze of roads in wrong directions. Ask yourself this question. In a city, which building would be easiest to locate? A. One that is connected to many other buildings through hundreds of roads, or B. One that has one single dirt path connecting it to only one other building. The building in A would be much easier to find. If you got going down the wrong path, you wouldn't have much trouble eventually reaching your destination. With this situation in B, you are relying on chance that you will stumble upon the only building that connects with your final location. When building constructs, your goal is to create as many possible interconnections as possible between ideas. Smart people tend to do this process naturally. As each concept comes up, it is automatically linked with other ideas. You probably use this process already, but perhaps not as effectively as people who learn effortlessly. The holistic learning strategy has many different techniques for manually linking ideas. Once those methods become habits, it doesn't take long before new connections are made. Your constructs weren't built in a day. There is no magical technique to immediately get any subject. Having a powerful construct comes with linking concepts together, one idea at a time. Models. If constructs are the door to holistic learning, then models are the key. Models are simplified constructs. They are snapshots of larger understandings designed to be portable and easy to store. Models are essential when trying to learn new concepts quickly. To understand what a model is, think about this book. A model for this book would be the table of contents. In a few pages, they summarize the thousands of words contained in the book. If you wanted to describe the contents of this book quickly, you would probably start there instead of reading the entire book word for word. Models can take a variety of forms. The goal, however, is always the same: compressing information. By taking several core concepts and linking them together into one form, you create a model. Models are essential when you are just starting to build a construct or making large additions to current constructs. I used a model when I was first learning about what a subspace was. A subspace is a mathematical term defining a portion of a larger vector space. An example of a vector space might be 3 dimensions. A subspace within that vector space could be a 2-dimensional plane. The model I used to represent this subspace was a bright blue infinite background. This was the 3-dimensional vector space, and then I visualized a red translucent grid slicing through the background. This was my subspace. This model only represents some possibilities for subspaces. A subspace could also be a line within a plane, or a section of an entire matrix of numbers. Models do not need to have perfect accuracy. They only need to combine several ideas to make them more manageable. As my understanding of subspaces grew, I made adjustments to my previous model and created new models. Once I had a construct, I could build out that understanding and correct any errors. Another time I used a model was when teaching myself computer programming. Programming languages make use of a concept known as a variable. Variables are used to store information that might change throughout the running of a program. A username, counter, or key could all be stored with variables. I created a clear image of the variables as being types of jars, and the concept made sense. Since most variables are broken into various types, some store numbers, other words or letters, I could imagine different jars with different openings for holding different types of data. This model for variables stored several key ideas into one image or concept. This compression formed the seed for which future understandings could be linked and refined. A model doesn't have to be an image, it only needs to be an existing understanding that compresses several key ideas into one. There are many ways to generate and expand models, which I'll discuss later in the book. Visualization is only one method. When I learned about functions in computer programming, I imagined them working like a pencil sharpener. Dull pencils go in, and a casing concealing the machinery sharpens the pencil. A sharp pencil comes out. This model doesn't need to rest on a specific image, but just the general concept of how a pencil sharpener works. One construct lending tools to build models for another. The takeaway point about models is that they act like seeds for constructs, like a small group of pioneers with compact building materials heading to fresh ground to start a new settlement. A compressed set of key ideas that can be expanded. Constructs are built on roads linking buildings with one another. While having hundreds of inner-city roads is useful, it doesn't make use of the real power of your holistic brain. In order to do that, you need to add highways, linkages between isolated constructs. A highway is a reference that links two completely different ideas. If you were reading a biology textbook and made comparisons from evolution to business courses you are taking, that would be a highway. The benefit of highways isn't an immediately obvious one. If you want to succeed in school, most instructors will emphasize having well-defined constructs, not having a brain full of highways. However, highways help with creativity. Thinking outside of the box may as well describe people who think outside of constructs. Highways allow them to do this by making connections between areas that they didn't previously think were connected. Creativity can be seen as being able to utilize these highways to build new constructs in territories that were previously empty. An example of when I've used a highway before was when I was reading The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. This book outlines Machiavelli's principles for governing a state, ruling people, and conquering other nations. Today it's largely seen as either a work of devious genius or a psychopath. When learning about the ideas that Machiavelli presents in his book, I needed a basis to compare them to. As a result, I created my own highways between Machiavelli's advice on statecraft and my personal experience with relationships, social settings, and management. Although some of his ideas may have flaws, this approach allowed me to completely understand the ideas before deciding which I would accept or reject. Building highways offers you more flexibility as a learner. Normally, if you don't understand the way an instructor teaches a subject, you're completely lost. With highways, you can import your own understandings from different subjects. Familiar constructs. There are several constructs most people possess in a highly developed form. These familiar constructs are so ingrained that they serve as an invaluable resource for models, highways, and learning new subjects. There are probably many more you possess, but here are a few likely candidates. Sensory constructs. These are probably your best developed sets of understandings. You have hundreds of images, sounds, and feelings linked together through experience. You might even want to consider sensations to be the root construct that all others are built on. Relationship constructs. Stories, people, and interactions define most of our existence. Is it any wonder then that stories make you subjects easier to learn? Saying that halogen compounds have one less electron than noble gases is different than saying that they're neighbors on the periodic table. Basic math constructs. Depending on your math background, you may find anything from arithmetic to advanced calculus to be painfully obvious. This can be used as the basis for building further math constructs, or you can use them to simplify linkages in other subjects. I'll reference these and other familiar constructs when offering suggestions for implementing various techniques. Think of these as your capital cities, which smaller settlements can be modeled after. Constructs, models, and highways, oh my. All of this talk about constructs and models may seem abstract to start with, but don't worry, the reason why I bring them up is because they form the backbone of holistic learning. Many books strive to teach different learning techniques. These are similar to the techniques I'll describe. The difference with holistic learning is you have a background theory which explains why these techniques should work and give you a better sense for modifying and creating your own. By providing the background of how information is stored in your brain, hopefully it will lead you to adopt approaches that make sense within this strategy. You wouldn't try to save computer files by telling the computer a story or typing them out 20 times. That doesn't make sense given how we understand computers store information. Understand how your brain stores information, and you can enhance the way you learn.